I think shielding for me isn't a personal thing, it's more about the shielding of my mum, who has recently been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and constantly having to explain coronavirus, the pandemic, the restrictions and shielding over and over again. That's what shielding means to me. I haven't had to shield myself, but I've had to explain it to my mum. I think having to explain it constantly to my mum what shielding is frustration, but also the guilt that comes with feeling frustrating. Like, she's my mum and I want to keep her safe and I want to look after her, but I'm also frustrated because I have two children under the age of 4 and I'm working, so it's frustrating trying to do all of that, but then I feel guilty because it's my mum and I shouldn't feel frustrated. I definitely think the isolation and the shielding has made her Alzheimer's worse. I think it's made it progress faster because she's not doing the normal day-to-day things that she would have done. She's not seeing her friends as she would have done, which is making her forget them because she's not seeing them regularly. And I think the fact that her friends are elderly and they were also shielding, so it's that whole impact on her everyday life, and because it's impacting her everyday life, it's now impacting my everyday life. So she's ringing, 10, 15 times a day because she's forgotten she's rang me. I go around and I have to give her medication, she's forgotten that I've given it, so she's asking me to come again, but I've already administered the medication. It's just the fact that she just can't go out and do the things that she used to do, but she doesn't understand why until you remind her. Anytime we're together, why can't I go to the hairdressers? Because they're shut, mum. Why are they shut? Because of the virus, mum. She just doesn't remember. Why can't I see my friends? I'm going to go and see my friends. But if she left the house, she wouldn't know where she was going to go. She doesn't know where her friends live. I'm not a daughter anymore, I'm a carer, and that adjustment is really difficult. Then it just became too much and mum's condition really worsened and became unmanageable, and was actually starting to affect my son and his behaviour, and his preschool had noticed as well. So that's when I spoke to Wired and the carers there, and they were really helpful in actually getting my mum assessed, because it was taking too long to get her assessed through the GP. We were waiting nearly 9 months for an Alzheimer's or dementia diagnosis. We knew that that's what it was going to be. We had a very good idea, but it was just something had to happen. I just get on with it. I've got no other choice really. I can't go to support groups or things like that because I've got children, I've got my job. I just get on with it. Got no other choice. I really felt like a burden when I was ringing my mum's GP, because I was ringing quite a lot, asking, probably begging for help, begging for a diagnosis, for medication, anything just to make my mum feel a bit better. And they were lovely when I spoke to them, and there's 2 GPs at my mum's practice that were really nice and did always listen, but I just felt like, why should somebody wait 9 months for an appointment at the memory clinic? Because, half of them have been redeployed. I understand that staff were needed to tackle the virus, but 9 months for a diagnosis. I had my daughter in January 2020 and I went back to work from home, first lockdown in the March, with an 8-week-old baby and a 4-year-old who's preschool and shut, because there was women out there that needed to know the changes in restrictions and were incredibly panicked about their pregnancy and what is it going to be like to be pregnant or give birth during a pandemic. And there was so much information that needed to get out to those women. It was important for me to do that, and I did, and I'm really proud of that because I helped so many women, I feel, and families. It was important. I knew what it was like to have a baby in a pandemic, and yeah.